Good morning and welcome to Breakthrough
Morning,
Academy,
everybody.
live here from Melbourne, Australia. If you don't know me, my name is Jay and I'm one of the team members here at Breakthrough, and it is my honor to introduce to you Breakthrough Academy, our Bible study program here at Breakthrough Church, where we dive and dig deeper into the Word of God. We are here to build mountain-moving faith, where we do not just know the scriptures, we do not just memorize them, but we are learning how to implement them in our lives in the 21st century, and we dive into it and we learn about the core behind it, the culture behind it, where it was written, who it was written to, all these things, and we take it so we can understand the context of these scriptures. And we do it every week with Josh Dobie, my good mate, and our senior pastor, Pastor Peter Lewis.
Hey everybody.
Hello.
And I know these guys are serious because, we've got guys, in the early 20s and a little above, just above the early 20s.
Early 20s?
Yeah. And look, they got real Bibles. This means that they've come, you know what, I really want to study this.
This is just for show. I've actually bought my phone.
I've also got my phone here ready to... I've got both. Can
I just say, you're not amputated, so you've got your phone there. I know this, but it just shows me you guys are ready. Because I didn't even ask you, didn't even remind you, hey, you need your real Bibles today. When I say real Bibles, you need a... But you need... But they've come along with that because I believe they're hungry.
Amen.
And we're studying, because we started a new study this year on the book of Revelation. Yes. We were doing Genesis, the beginnings, and Revelation, and they're good books to study together. We looked at the the first few chapters of Genesis. Now we're looking not just the last few chapters of Revelation, but that's a pretty good study in itself. If you go to the last chapters, you sort of get the new Jerusalem and everything that's happening there, and it's
lots of interesting concepts.
It's like full circle coming back to what God intended and the plan, and so everything in between is, this is not what God planned, but this is the plan that God had through this. And so we're studying Revelation to get a feel for it. I'm learning as we go. We'd like the book of Acts. I thought I sort of knew a bit about it when I was studying. And the more I read it, the more it came alive. And I'm trusting the same here. Is that the more we actually read this and get understanding at it, the better it is. And we've got Richard, Joe, and Judith.
And Shiva. Don't forget Shiva as well. Good.
We've got Shiva and Joe.
It's good to have you all joining us.
That?
Shiva does, at least. It's good to have you all joining us this morning. I love, you're saying with Revelation, I think one of the things I find so interesting in it, and it's like in this Bible, in this actual physical Bible I got, which got for Christmas a couple of years ago, and it's sort of a replica of the one you've got, Dad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's a different translation.
But the same study notes.
It's got the same study notes and stuff. Mine is the ESV, yours is New American.
Yeah.
But in it does at the start of every chapter, it gives a bit of a breakdown of the book. So not at the start of every chapter, at the start of every book, it gives a bit of a breakdown of what that book is. And it'll break the book down into the chapters sort of thing, so you can study it. So for the bigger book, so if it's something like Acts, let's take that for example, it breaks it down into, it's like, how to study is like chapters 1 to 2. In the first 2 chapters of the book of Acts, Luke gives an account of Christ's ascension and the Holy Spirit's coming. Yeah. Chapters 3 to 7, as you study, follow along with, this is where they talk about the who's and how's and the where's. 8 to 12 is where you begin to see things like Paul come into things. 13 to 28 is then Paul's missionary journeys, and even in there, it's broken up into when the journeys are. Revelation, it breaks up into chapters 1 to 3, then chapters 4 to 22. And it's like the start. It's like there's like 2 complete. And it's like, but it's not like 1 to 3, then 4 to 9. It's like no, 1 to 3, and then the rest of it is just it's one. Why do you think that would be? I was interested in your take on this.
I think one of the things is that people are surprised by it because if you ask most people what Revelation's about, their thoughts and their memories probably are from chapter 6.
Yeah.
Right. So if you look at Revelation chapter 6,
that's. Do you want me to throw it up on the screen for you?
Yeah. So you can. So Revelation chapter 6 is where people think Revelation really starts.
Things are unfolding.
Okay. And I saw when the Lamb broke one of the 7 seals. So that's it. To them, that's the book of Revelation. The seals, the trumpets,
the letter was just the churches of that time.
Yeah, it was like, okay. That's really what Revelation is to people. This huge end times timeline of what God. They like things are done in order, like 7 seals, the first seal, the second seal, then the third seal, the 7 bowls, the 7 trumpets. The first angel sounds a trumpet, then another angel, and so I've been trying to delve into this, and because Revelation's probably different than any other book I've studied. It's not like with you look at Galatians. I'm getting in the mind of Paul. Revelation, it's just like what is happening here? And I reread it and without some help. And I thought, I'll listen to some other preachers and what I found is
a lot of people.
Well, a lot of people say things like that. This is the right way. Number of times it's da. Here's the 4 ways of looking at it, but this is the right way. Here's the 3 ways of this, and that's probably accurate. I wasn't actually against a lot of what they said was the right way, but it's a little bit like that. There's a lot of talking, and I went to one, and and straight away it an overview of Revelation. So I thought, okay, and it had a timeline, a big chart at the back, which was, and he said, this is the timeline. This hasn't happened yet, but this is what will happen. And I just went to the next one because I'm like, oh man, I think that's the wrong approach to Revelation, is to turn it into a chronological series of events that will happen, but haven't actually started yet. So it's like, well, are you saying all these things have happened? No, I'm saying, because some people say, oh, this is actually what happened in the 1st century, or this has happened already, or this is
people are looking for like a checklist. Almost,
it's
like I only got to tick off where we are in the book of Revelation, or have we got to there yet?
Is this like the book where, I'm not saying you can get different things from it. It's the word is the word, God's truth. But where it's like without the Holy Spirit or without complete understanding, there's more possible interpretations you can get.
I think so. I think one of the issues for me is you want to read it as best as you can. Like we're in 21st century Western mindset, trying to understand what the how they would have approached it, and they would have seen the writings. Because to us, it's an unusual writing. To them, it was a not that uncommon type of style of writing. Okay, so this was not the only style of this kind. They were used to other styles, and they also, in the Old Testament, there was
talk of this time.
Yeah, there was this style of writing was there as well, which we probably don't lean into as much as the 1st century Jew would have connections with.
Yeah.
So I think one of the it's not so much you need the Holy Spirit help. We do need the Holy Spirit help, but it's more, first of all, saying, hang on a sec, let's not attack this as a 21st century Christian with a mindset that everything's chronological, everything follows a neat timeline. Let's try and understand.
Has a neat reason behind.
Yeah,
I love
But the other one is you don't want to flip over and say, well, it's actually like a coded book of little secret things that you need to unlock and unpack, and there's code and there's all sorts of things in there. So it's like the Da Vinci Code. Do you know what I mean? There's a painting, but in the painting is hidden truths. So I'm looking for clues and things in behind. So no, I don't want to turn it into a Da Vinci Code. Which sometimes is like people are, I prayed and I saw this and I saw that. Well, that's good. That's not actually
how it should be.
Yeah, I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to say, how did they look at it? And one of the things I need
what was it intended? Like who was it intended for? Will make you understand what they're talking to and the references.
And so some people are like, well, a lot of people would not even know it was written to anybody. It would just be a revelation of the end times. And so a lot of people say, well, it's actually written for us today because we're about to go into these end times. So it was written for the people who are about to experience the end times. That would be sort of, you basically got 1900 years of people that, well, you might have enjoyed it, but it wasn't
tough. Like you only needed 66 books in the Bible?
Yeah, you got 65.
You only actually needed 65. The last one wasn't for you.
Yeah, we're on the edge of it. And it hasn't happened yet. And so this was like that timeline. It's about to start, and there's going to be a 7-year period, 3.5 years, another 3.5 years. And that was the way they were going to approach it. I'm like, oh no, let's skip to another one. That makes me go, oop, I don't want to look at it like that. I want to get my feeling for it. So
and I think there's it's like, oh well, how can we throw that concept away? It was like, well, it's pretty obvious and we talked about this last week, Revelations 1 to 3, they were written to even though they weren't written to specific churches or they were written to regions and stuff,
Yeah.
they were written, it was saying, hey, into the church in Philadelphia, to the church here, to the church here. It's like, he wasn't, those churches aren't churches nowadays, so it was obviously written to the people of that time. Like that, that's a pretty good clue to say that it was intended to be interpreted and understood and relevant to the people that John was writing to.
Exactly. I think, and that's one of the things, a lot of people, I think if you said, and you turn and read to them chapters 2 and 3, they say, oh, I didn't even know that was in Revelation. Because it's like, that's, so and like you said, that's chapters 1 to 3.
But here's 4 to 22.
And was this like a hot topic of the time or the church at the time? Were they asking these questions as to, and why also maybe this has even happened this way?
Yeah, exactly. Great question, Josh. Let's see if you can answer it as we go. All right? Because that's actually the question. What questions were they asking? Now, you go back into... sorry.
I was going to say, the first thing that came to my mind was, like, you think of Paul. How many times in Paul's letters, and I can't remember exactly which one, but he often talked about it, he's like, will I die before seeing the second coming of Christ? Yeah. And it's like, Paul was talking about that 2,000 years ago, spoiler warning, he did die before the second coming of Christ. And it's like, but if he was talking about that in his letters, it was obviously something on their mind. They'd heard Jesus say, I'll be coming again, I'll return, no one knows the time or date. And so they're thinking, like, are we talking a month? Or I'm gonna guess if you told Paul it'd be 2,000 years, he would have been shocked. Do you reckon if you told someone
with how much he wanted
if you told someone who was there the day Jesus ascended to heaven, told one of the disciples, it's actually going to be over 2,000 years until the second coming of Christ, how many of them do you reckon would have believed that in that moment?
They lived with the expectation it was soon.
Exactly.
Right? 2 Thessalonians, he had to correct them to say it's not already started.
Exactly. They thought they were there.
Right? So if you can pull up 2 Thessalonians chapter 2.
While you're getting there, it's also interesting that, like, we, and I'm sure they did as well, we think in terms of human time, where God is actually outside of time.
Exactly.
So when God says maybe soon or this season, okay, it's it's the season of summer, or it's soon. Soon could be in 2 weeks, or
2,000 years.
2,000 years.
Oh, that's...
God's not actually, he's not affected by time. He's outside of it. So it's like we can't.
And I think when John went up to heaven, I think that time was different. That's what that's just my understanding is he was in the spirit, seeing things, and in that realm, time is moving differently. As it's not like on Earth, he's a clock's ticking. Do you know what I mean? He's seeing things. I think he was seeing things that both had happened, were happening, and were to happen.
Yeah.
All right. Sort of like no, and so some people are trying to lock in one of the three. Do you know what I mean? So there is interpretations that Revelation is what was happening, and what had happened up to that point, or was very much connected to Rome. Do you know what I mean? This Rome is
the fall of Rome.
It's all about the fall, and Caesar is the king and the beast, and all the all these sorts of different things, and that they said, well, it just had a connection to that time. Well, yeah, I do believe it did have a connection to that time, but I do believe it was also for a time to come. And that at the end it talks about the 1,000-year rule, the millennium, 1,000-year rule, and there are some people that say the church is the 1,000-year rule.
Yeah.
All right, and that so the church age is sort of that rule, or it's just totally symbolic. There is no actual 1,000 years, and I wouldn't like to lock any of those things in. I'm like, I think it's and it can be like, there's a reflection while we're living in that, but I think that's just because it's sort of following the pattern of what God does in every in the church age, and then in the final summation of it, yes, there will be similarities, but I think it's different, and I do believe it's written in a way that seems like it's. And like when it talks about the lamb with 7 eyes and 7 horns, I don't think it's talking about a literal lamb. I think it's symbolic. When it talks about 1,000 years, I think the language is it's actually 1,000 years of rule. Now, can I just say, the word 1,000 is it's multiple. 1,000 is 10 times 10 times 10, which is 10, which talks about governments, and 3, which talks about God. So it's like.
There's a lot of
symbolic in there. That's why it talks about 12,000, 144,000, which is 12 times 12.
The tribes.
Yeah, 12 tribes, and it names them. It's interesting. It's when it lists the names of the tribes in the Bible, of the dozens of times, I don't think hardly any of them are exactly the same. You think there would be a locked-in 12, but there's
The what?
Like the gifts of the Spirit.
the actual names of the tribes.
Yeah.
It's the not just the order, but actually who's mentioned.
You think that's not up for debate?
Yeah, because Dan isn't mentioned in Revelation.
Yeah.
The tribe of Dan.
Poor Dan.
Yeah, so it's things like that. Anyway,
Maybe
I don't want to get sidetracked. But 12 times 12 times 1,000, so they're all symbolic numbers. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't want to lock in 1,000 years. Might be representative of an era, or it could be a literal 1,000 years. The same, there were 7 churches representing the fullness and completeness of God to the church, but there were actually still 7 physical churches. So you can have both.
Yeah.
I think there's a point as well with Revelation, and like I've never studied Revelation until this season, sort of thing, and I'm still studying at the moment. Like I'm very much a novice in this, so please correct me if I'm wrong in this. Okay. But pardon?
Oh yeah, well, we will.
I will as well.
Josh is like
done. Easy. That was it.
But I have that tattooed on my chest. Correct, John.
He's
correct. I reckon one of the things that the mistake people make with Revelation is the same mistake we make with the rest of the Bible, which is you don't approach it as both God breathed and a book, and it's like that's the Bible. Like we treat Revelation as separate to the rest of the Bible, but it's like oh well, we're trying to interpret all this stuff about the future and stuff like. Well, every time I read the Bible, I'm trying to interpret things about the past, and it's like I'm out here reading stories about farming and stuff, which is completely irrelevant to my culture, but was completely relevant to their culture. So I'm having to add context, but I'm also getting Holy Spirit led insights into these things when I'm reading the Gospels, or when I'm reading about in the Old Testament, I'm reading about the era of the kings, or these things. Those are completely irrelevant to my culture today as well. But what I do, I just have to approach it like it's a book written to those people, and like it's a God-breathed thing that God can get out of it. It's like it's the same thing we have to do with Revelation, and it's the same. It's like it's actually the same skills we've learnt for the rest of the Bible. Is okay. Let's apply it to our culture. Let's understand these things. But people try and treat it so differently because it's about a future timeline, not just a past timeline, but it's the same skills of interpreting that.
I agree. It's the same skills heightened.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You've got it.
You just got to do it more.
And it has the similar things as well, where the church back then they were going through things. Yeah. The things we go through today as a church or as people or as humanity, it's not too far different.
Exactly.
It might have different words or different,
So let's just, because we've taken a bit of a side thing, but that's exactly right. And 2 Thessalonians chapter 2.
Just before we do that, when you were saying like how people are trying to figure out like, oh, it was actually written for the people of today and it wasn't for them, or actually no, it was only written for this time. Yeah. Reminds me there's a book I've talked about before, The Sacred Diaries of Adrian Plus. It's a very good, clever, funny
parody.
It's a parody book of a Christian's diary of his life going to church and stuff, and just covers the things that everyone who's gone to a church has experienced and seen in church. It's a very good book without ever diminishing or mocking God or mocking the faith or mocking the Christianity. It's a really good book. I love it. And at the end, they've all gone to this 7-day conference, and it's like a retreat for all the churches in their area in their town, and they all go there and they go camping and they camp at the campsite, and every day there's been massive rain and hail and wind, and all their tents are getting blown up and everyone's getting destroyed. And Adrian's like he's at the laundromat where they are every morning watching all their clothes that have been ruined in the rain. He says one of the guys is there saying like, this rain is God's way of judging his people, saying that this retreat is wrong and we need to stop it immediately. It's like the other guy was saying like, the rain is God's way of showing that we need to show perseverance, and it's God's way of saying it's the right thing because we'll endure trials on this earth. It's like, then the man who runs the campsite's like, actually it rains this time of year every year. I don't know why they picked this week why they picked this month to do the conference. It's like I don't know why and it's like, I feel like that can be a bit of revelation where it's like, actually it's this, actually it's like, actually, it's like people are so desperate to see a reason, but our society and our generation is so desperate often to see a specific, it's like, oh, this is God's way of saying this, or this, like, and it's like, you do something with someone, it's like, oh, the reason this didn't work is because this is God's way of saying that it's wrong to use computers. Actually, it might be because I clicked update by accident. I've turned the computer off. And it's like this might not be God judging, or might not be God testing. Might just be I made a mistake. But I think that's such the approach to Revelation sometimes. But exactly, it's like
Is that dealt with?
Pardon?
No, nothing's happening.
Is that comment been removed?
Can I if you give me a phone, I can do that now.
Yeah, so we often get comments that
happened on Sunday.
Yeah, they're just scam comments. Please don't ever.
If you ever see a comment that concerns you, if there's anything that deals with the situation, like and particularly they're asking for money or anything like that, if you're concerned and we appreciate that is the heart of Christ, is we want to serve, we want to help. Best thing to do is come to us. We can then use from a technical understanding. We can research into it and we can approach it in a way that does offer, if there is real need and there is real help required, we can get to these people and we can do it, but in a way that's safe and doesn't risk you or your safety or your finances or things like that. So if there's ever an issue, if you ever see anything like that,
approach us and then we can
screenshot it, message us on social media, or approach us if you're in the room or something like that. We want to help when it's the right situation, but we also want to be wise.
And these people can go to the website as well.
Exactly.
And there's more help there. So
that's exactly it.
There's definitely ways that we can.
So Revelation 1 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 1 says, "Now we request you, brethren, with regard to the coming of the Lord Jesus and our gathering together near him." So it was a hot topic. And that you may not be quickly shaken from your composure or be disturbed either by a spirit or a message or a letter, as if from us, to the effect that the day of the Lord has come. Not let no one in any way deceive you, for it will not come unless the apostasy comes first, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction who opposed. So Paul had talked about these things. And he said, it can't have happened because these things haven't happened first. So there are things that happen in order. There are things that you expect. And there are. So, the book of Revelation, which overlaps these sorts of concepts, it's like, there is a sense of one thing will happen after the other, and there are events, and so I appreciate that the timeline says there's this, and then this, and then this. But it also does show that it was on their radar, and there was an expectation to the point where they said it's already come, and he said, "Well, it can't have come." Just settle down. We'll just think, why can't it? Well, these things have to happen first. They haven't even happened. So don't be concerned. That's not for me, and people are fake. So, but often what we, when we looked at the letter of to the Thessalonians, Paul's letter, we understood Paul was there for a short time, and then there was severe persecution. And he had to leave. And then
so he was only there for, was it 6 to 8 months?
Possibly? Possibly 6 weeks to 6 months.
Sorry,
6 weeks to 6 to 8 months. It was just a short time.
And
you can go back when we studied this in the book of Acts to see all this.
There'll be a specific weeks about the church in Thessalonica, so you can go find that one.
When Paul had gone down, Corinth and then across and Athens, maybe Athens first, then Corinth. I can't remember. He wanted to go back, and he said, "But Satan prevented me. I was stopped." All right, now how could Satan? My understanding was, he said, "If I go back, the work that Satan's doing, this will inflame, and it will actually cause more persecution. People could actually be put into prison or killed." He said, "What Satan's doing prevents me from going back." That's what I was saying. If I go back, I'll just cause things. But I can send Timothy back, and he can sort of help you, but I can't go back. All right, not because I can't, but I can't go back because I'm scared.
No,
I can't go back because I'm fearful. I can't go back because the devil's more powerful than. No, it's like I can't go back because of what devils. But what the emphasis is, it was still a place where there was intense persecution, and to be a Christian in that environment was costing you a lot. And in that environment, Paul would speak about the fact that it's costing you a lot here, but you're gaining a lot to come. Is that all right? And in the day of the Lord, things will be put right eventually. In the day of the Lord, Jesus will come. So he wasn't. It wasn't even so much for them when you get to heaven. It was more the day of the Lord, which would, and that could happen anytime. When you get to heaven is like, well, when I'm 70, 80, 90, 100 years of age and I die, or if you kill me now, then I go there straight away. But for them, okay, rather than I'm not looking just to when I'm dying.
Perhaps it could come sooner.
I'm looking for the day of the Lord. And Jesus has come, or he said he's coming again, could be any moment. And that was a very real mindset for them. It was part of what they were looking at, to the point where, hey, he's already come. What? We've missed it. He's already come. But they were looking for it. They were aware that things were going to happen. And it was not, this is the key point, I think, for the book of Revelation. To them, it was not an intellectual exercise. It was a bit of life and death.
Yeah.
It was their hope. It was what kept them going. And I think that's how you've got to read the book of Revelation, because, like I said, most people just ignore the fact that there was a few chapters at the start where, what's that all about? And then it's on to, this is the letter to us, but it was written to them. How could it be relevant to them if they weren't going to experience it?
Yeah.
God,
that's right.
John, the people reading it might not have known. Paul might not have even known. And John, he didn't write Revelation. John obviously wrote Revelation. He might not have known that when, and there was an expectancy, but God knew.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? When God says, soon and coming, and he knew what that meant.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But he still felt it was very relevant to give to them.
Yeah.
Even though he knew that the actual events would be centuries down, a millennium down. He's like, this is still very relevant to them. Okay, now some people say the only way to make it relevant is to mean that the events that occurred actually were occurring or did occur in their time frame, which that's how it made it relevant. And therefore you have to interpret everything that this is like these events in the past match this, and everything in there, like this was Rome, and this was Caesar, and this was, what I mean? And so you say, well, to make it relevant to them, I have to take everything that happened in or happens in Revelation and make it in the now.
Because what we're saying was, we're not saying that Revelation couldn't have been written specifically just for the people of the future to read one day in the right season. We're not saying that. What we're saying, what you're saying is that if that was the case, either A, he probably wouldn't have had it written by John, and it would have been written by someone, say the end times of starting tomorrow. It would have been written by someone now. It would have been written by a prophet of today's society or something like that. Or if John did write it, he certainly wouldn't have spent the first 3 chapters addressing it to the churches of that day. So it's like, those are signs that it was clearly relevant to the people of that day. It was not just for us.
It was something. It was written to them, even though they weren't going to necessarily experience everything. God knew that. They didn't, because we don't know. Part of that is living in that unsure whether we're going to experience it when, and that's the Thessalonians were living in that. Paul was living in that. Way. And so we should be living in that, and part of that is to be aware of what's going to happen, so we're living with the expectation of it. But if Revelation is not relevant to us unless we're living it, then it is only a slither of the body of Christ that it's actually for. I know it's not that, because this is what I'm saying to people, like, this is weird. God specifically wrote it to the 7 churches of the time.
Exactly.
So it's like, I can't make it. If John had just started, the Lord took me up. Let's just read Revelation chapter 4 and just say, this is where.
I was just thinking that where it's like, oh, why? And I didn't realize it's in 1 Thessalonians, because I was thinking this verse, and like people being like, oh, why were they so caught up thinking that the day of Christ might be coming? 1 Thessalonians 5, if you go back to first,
the day of the Lord.
Now, as to the times and the epochs, brethren, you have no need of anything to be written to you. For you yourselves know full well that the day of the Lord will come just like a thief in the night. While they are saying peace and safety, then destruction will come upon them, and something like birth pangs upon a woman with child, they shall not escape. But you, brethren, are not in darkness. That day should overtake you like a thief. For you are all sons of light. So let us not sleep as others do, but let us be alert and sober. For those who sleep do their sleeping at night. But since we are of the day, let us be sober. For God has not destined us to, So build yourself up. But it's like, he was talking like, be ready, be on the lookout. And they were like, not just on the lookout, we found it.
Yeah.
Like, Paul, guess what? We've done one better than keeping an eye out for it. I think we found it. And it's like, but, and it's like, but what I was trying to look for is I thought it was in that passage, but I'm trying to remember where it is, where it talks about, where they're like, not even the Holy Spirit or Jesus know the exact time of when.
It'd be in the Gospels.
It's in the Gospels when Jesus is talking. I think it's in Luke somewhere. I was trying to find it.
Yeah, it would, only the Father knows.
Only the Father knows, and it's like, and I'm like, okay.
And I think that in terms of Father and Jesus,
Father and Jesus could be the same.
I'm saying I don't think the Holy Spirit was excluded from knowing, but it was like only the Father knows.
Yeah.
When Jesus was on the earth,
well, that's what he's like. He's like, even I don't.
Yeah, he was living with restricted understanding
of what he's like. And not even I know down here when it's going to happen. And it's like, when I read that, it makes me think Revelation probably wasn't about trying to let us predict when the end times are. If there's obviously there will be times where like keep an eye out and be so, like, as Paul said, be aware, be alert for it. But if Jesus is saying no one will know and it's going to come like a thief in the night, it's going to come completely unexpectedly. It won't. I'm going to guess Revelation isn't a code that we can crack to figure it out and predict it. But I think a lot of people treat Revelation like, let's predict. Definitely. We can predict it. It's like, well, Jesus has said even he on earth wasn't able to know when that date was. Yeah. So we're probably not going to be able to figure it out. I don't think God doesn't want us to try and predict it or figure out exactly when it's coming and stuff. He wants us to be alert and sober.
If it's just a code you're trying to crack or get the insider information or get it out first, then it's not that's not the right heart or the right attitude. And I don't think we'd get the answers that way anyway.
Exactly.
No, there was when so how old I would have been 22, and there was an author in America that came out with a book, 88 Reasons Why Jesus is Coming in 1988, and he did a very popular, a lot of tour, a lot of speakers, got a lot of interest. And my wife Christine, can you remember this, Christine? She was working at a bookshop. Someone in the bookshop ordered that book because they wanted it, but back then it was it was like an individual publisher. It wasn't one of the normal ones. Hard to get stuff from the States. They ordered it, and it took a long time. It arrived in 1989. Okay, and he didn't want it anymore. He didn't want it.
And did he release the sequel, 89 Reasons Why?
He did. He found an extra reason.
Well, it was actually 89.
And all his calculations off by 1 year, because and so Christine said, "What do I do?" I said, "I want that book. I think that's it's a keepsake in the sense of shows how people." And I looked at it, and it was just the largest lot of gobbledygook about Daniel, numbers of days, this. Therefore, 1988. I'm like, man, I do maths puzzles and I got no idea what you're talking about.
It's like he says this, da-da-da-da. Anyway.
It's not... no. So yeah, all these reasons are like...
Mum says he still has the book. Maybe next week we'll bring it. We can bring it in.
Yeah, it was... anyway, he went off the speakers list of most of the conferences in 1989. Even when he brought out his new book, people were like, yeah, you had your one shot, mate.
Yes.
You're not doing that round again. But yeah, he treated it like...
Mum says it's a collector's item.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in print anymore. Let's put it that way.
But he treated it like some sort of special code, Da Vinci Code, just to be cracked. All right. So they were expecting and waiting for the Lord. That's the way they were living. It helped them. It meant something to them, and it had to, because there was something about what God was going to do that helped them today, and that's why Revelation was written to 7 churches representing the churches of God. And when I say that, some people say, like each church represented an era in the church history age. Maybe. That's fine.
Write a book about it.
Yeah. I'm not
7 reasons, the 7...
Well, I'm not actually saying that's not true, but I'm saying that's secondary. That's not why Jesus spoke to those 7 churches so that they're symbols of 7 eras. He was speaking to those 7 churches because of what they were going through. And by embracing that start, chapters 1, 2, 3, chapter 4 and on, and like I said, I said from chapter 6 because most people know it from the opening of the seals and the seven the 4 horsemen and all the rest.
Yeah.
In chapters 4 and
Kicks
5, there's actually he's in heaven,
It's the pictures of heaven,
but he's seeing the glory of heaven and the worship of heaven, and a lot of people sort of lose sight of that. Even, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The first thing he did in heaven was not see the horse of death and the plagues come down and kill a third of the ships and whatever. No, the first thing he saw was heaven and the Lamb and the people worshipping and the angels. That's the essence. And then out of that revelation flowed. But before that, you've got these 2 chapters where he talks to the 7 churches and gives them details. We speak that Jay, you had to head off early last time because you were.
Yes.
I heard you did really well too.
Thank you.
And but
I didn't.
but Jay had a work function where they'd given us a bit of an honour to represent, where he works and then speak to people. And so it was very good. But he had to leave a little bit earlier, and we stopped and we just sort of had a look through some of the 7 churches to get a feel for them. And we, there was a bit of a recurring theme of they were under pressure, there was persecution, and so like the Thessalonians, like these churches here, they were living under pressure, and that's Revelation was written to churches under pressure.
Cause it was helping them in the sense that we're going through these things right now. Some things hard, you know, but if I can be looking towards, what's, the good things that are going to unfold, are going to happen. Like, yes, this is why we go through, or why we don't just fold now, or why we don't just.
Well, that's right. And if we go to Revelation chapter 2, we talk about there's a little pattern. First of all, there's a revelation of Jesus about who he is. To the angel in the Church of Ephesus, right? The one who holds the 7 stars, one who walks among the 7 golden lamps. And it's about, just a little picture of what Jesus is. Yeah. Then there's a message to them that always finishes with, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Verse 7. Okay, so this is like each of the 7 churches has the same, little template.
It gets repeated,
And it says, to him who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. In other words, the first thing is, you need to hear what God is saying to the churches, not
to your church,
to the churches, and not just what he's saying about the end times. What he's speaking to the churches is what we need to hear. He's not just speaking it; he's speaking it to the churches. All right. So, and it says to him who overcomes. And that's repeated. To him has the Nikeo. The victory, who gets the victory, who takes the victory, this is what you will experience. And then
I will grant to eat. And then
it gives, and then just the same as the first one was 7 different parts of the revelation of Jesus. Most of it came from chapter 1. It's like, in verse 18 it says, the Son of God who has eyes like flames of fire and feet are like burnished bronze. That's a picture taken from chapter 1, is now repeated here. Most of the things that are at the start are a reflection. Not 100%, just to throw me off my game. He doesn't. But most of it comes from there.
And verse 8, and to the angel of the church in
just like how it tied all down.
Smyrna. Right. The first and the last, and to the angel of the church in Smyrna, right. The first and the last who was dead and has come to life says this. That's in verse 18, and the living one, I died. Verse 17 of chapter 1, I am the first and the last, and the living one, I died, and behold, I am alive forever. So like that's literally, again, copy.
If you want to do it, I could show you my notes in this, but you can try this in your own exercise. Just go through and try and connect everything in the first part of that template to chapter a picture 1 of Jesus. So you'll say, so I go, that's verse 11, that's verse 7, that's verse 19. That's, I can't find that. And then you have at the end the same thing. I will grant thee to the tree of life, which is in the paradise of God.
Where's that in verse?
So verse 7.
11 or
no, verse 7.
Okay, so we're back at the first church.
Yes. So because the template, you'll find most of those things come from the last few chapters of Revelation. There's a overlap to the end. All right. Okay. So the start is connecting you to Jesus. The end is connecting you to this final picture of the New Jerusalem and stuff like that. So now that's a little bit more challenging, but I think it's a really good exercise to go and find references to these things in the last few chapters. because that was a real... Can you see how it's like, if you get the victory, this is where you're going to end up. And I might just give you a little snippet here, but then the revelation gives you the full picture. So I get a little bit, but if I go and read, I can get the whole story. Does it make sense? So these are little snippets for them, but they represent the big, what I've got.
Yeah.
The churches in Revelation, part of what they needed to know is not just what would happen in the events and the times, but they would needed to know that if they would stick it out and get the victory, this is where they're going to end up.
Yeah.
This is their future.
Yeah.
So it connected them to the final parts of the Revelation. All right, and but it doesn't say to it doesn't say to him who is a Christian, I will grant this.
Yeah.
To him who's a Christian, it's not. It's saying if you get the victory, if you hold fast and get the victory, if you don't give up,
Don't give in.
if you don't give in, if you don't roll over, this is yours.
Yeah.
All right. It's not talking about works and you've got to do it, but it's talking about there's a battle, and you've got to hold fast to get there. All right. Do you know what I mean? So this is written to them to say you've got Jesus speaking to you. He's holding your star in his hand. You are his lampstand.
Keep going.
Yep, that's all right. Yeah, just a technical instruction. We are instructed to hold fast to this.
Yeah.
That's why it was given to the churches of Revelation. What was going to be revealed helps them to do this.
Yeah. That's
Do you know?
good.
It helps them to do this.
It helps, yeah.
When we
It shifts their focus firstly.
it's
Like, oh, I'm going through this because,
you need to see what you're going through the lens of the big battle. You also need to see it through the lens of where that big battle ends up, because that's also where you're going to end up.
That's important.
You know what I mean? I'm jumping around a little bit, but yeah, let's do this. I was talking to the prayer team on Tuesday about this because it was sort of fresh revelation. One of the things, and I've probably tried to get as much. I've been doing a bit of reading around, not extensive, but more than I normally do, trying to get help, with some of their views and things like this. And I was reading one guy, one commentator, and he was talking about it, and he talked about the Sabbath rest and the entering into a time of ceasing. He said, Sabbath is 6 days of work, and then they would rest.
Yep.
And there's a cease, and the Sabbath is a picture of God's rest. Completion, God's rest. Now, because there's so many sevens in Revelation, that Sabbath rest is something that you should be aware of, because when they're looking at sevens, that's in their mindset. It's completion, but it's a rest completion. It's a cease complete. So he said, look for these little transitions where there's a rest and a peace. So in chapter 13, chapter 9 maybe. No, come on. All right, chapter 8 even earlier. Okay. Chapter 8 is the first from Revelation 6 and 7 and 8 talks about the seven seals, the first revealing of these. And so this is our first of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is all happening. It gets to the seventh seal. Now you've got to remember, let's talk about seventh. We're going to have a little Sabbath, which is not just I've had a busy week, I'm resting. It's a completion. It's God did not do the seventh day because he was tired. He did it because he was proving a point. That's how I did it. And then I finish. I have a rest. And in Hebrews, we're told to be diligent to enter into that rest. It's something we as a church live in the seventh day. It is, Jesus said on the cross, it is finished. The work of salvation is done. So everything we are accomplishing is done out of 6 days are finished. We do all our work under a rest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jesus said, hey, everyone who's weary, heavy laden, come to me. I'll put my yoke on you because my yoke is easy, my burden is light. And I get in step with me. It's a rest. So you look at this. Oh, we're in a seventh seal. The seventh seal is open. And what happens in heaven? Have a look.
Silence for half an hour.
Yeah. Everybody stops for half an hour. All right. Everyone just takes a break. Now, in a war, there's only two ways that you can have silence. You've got to negotiate it with with who you're fighting, or you've got to be in charge.
Yeah.
Right? You can't just say, I will take a rest.
Yeah.
When you're in a battle.
Yeah.
Just go put
That's
that
true.
down.
Do you know what I mean? If I'm fighting a particular people group and I know they have a holy day or a day where they don't do any work or rest, that's the day I'm going to attack them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because, first of all, I'm going to annoy them by the fact that they can't rest on that day. I will make it, you know what I mean? Or I will catch them sleeping, or because they're busy actually resting or spending an extra time at their holy place or whatever. You know what I mean? You're sort of like, that's my opportunity.
Yeah.
So that they can't do what they normally do because the war enforces it. So in heaven, you have this cosmic battle, and you have the beast, and you have the dragon, and you have Satan, pictured all there. But then heaven says, we're going to take a half an hour break. And they do.
Yeah.
That says, I'm in charge.
Yeah.
That says, God says, this is my timetable. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This is, I'm not responding to everything. I'm over it. And on the seventh, it says, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. So I'd never understood. I just always read okay. They had a bit of silence. That's nice. That's weird. I don't say that's weird out loud because that's, God did it. So that's nice.
Oh, I didn't mean it like that, God.
Yeah, it was just like, all right. And then the trumpets and away they go, sort of, stuff like that. So, but it just, it there's a picture here of a bigger thing of what God's doing. And the whole point is, if you're reading this and it's not lifting you to connect more with Jesus, and it's not giving you a greater appreciation of Jesus is and his victory, and it's not stirring in you a desire to fight and to hold on and to move forward, you're not reading it right.
Yeah.
All right. Now, a lot of the teaching about Jesus coming again, the book of Revelation, teaching that I had when I was a teenager and coming up, was very fear-based.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Jesus is coming again. You better be ready.
You better be living right.
And I tell you what, I'll show you what happens if you're not living right and you miss the rapture.
Yeah.
Beast and locusts and...
We used to have a lady in our church, this many years ago, I'm talking probably before I was born, sort of there, who was just in constant fear that she was going to miss the rapture. And it was to a point where we used to have a Saturday night meeting, I think.
I thought it was a guy.
It was a guy. We used to
have,
we had Saturday night meetings every week, and that Saturday night the church had announced it well in advance that they weren't doing a Saturday night meeting, and he'd forgotten. Turned up, saw everyone's gone. Must have missed the rapture. That was his first thought was that he missed the rapture.
Yeah, way before mobile phones, and so and he rang, and he was so first thing he went to pay phone, rang the pastor.
Yeah.
Because Pastor Ricky,
if someone was going to get taken, it would have been him.
And phone rang through. It was because they'd all said we're joining for a citywide gathering of the churches on this night. So we're going to not have our meeting, but we're all going to meet in the city for this special meeting. So everyone who rang wasn't home.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I love this one. I love that it's like your first.
Poor guy.
I do kind of love that it's like your first thought wasn't maybe the meeting got cancelled or maybe we're meeting somewhere else tonight. It's must have been the rapture, but it's like that was the thought process of people.
And that there was, in the 70s, the 80s, in the 70s, a lot of focus and a lot of expectation for the coming of Jesus, and a lot of numbers being thrown around, a lot of charts. But this is my concern is a lot of it was fear driven. This is, I went to a meeting where it was, don't get the mark of the beast. Whatever you do, when they bring it in and you won't be able to buy or sell, and if you get the mark of the beast, you're basically gone. Do you know what I mean? Don't get the mark of the beast. Don't. And there would be people like, oh, if I go to see a movie and Jesus comes again, I'm gone because I'm in the cinema and I shouldn't be in the cinema, or I'm at the football. Don't let It's like some people are like, dear God, don't come back on a Saturday afternoon because I don't want to be at the football when you come. I feel, oh no, I'm doing something really secular and Jesus comes and there's am I going to be sort of, oh no, I'm looking for the Christians and look over the MCG crowd and I can't see any Christians there. They're all just, what I mean? I was like, that's the fear some people were living under. So Revelation to them became this is a warning. This is a warning of what will happen to you if you're not part of God's chosen people and you're not taken. So it became fear-based. It just doesn't match what I think God's trying to do with Revelation chapter 2 and 3 and talking to these 7 churches. And he said, now, if you overcome. So it's not...
Because, you think in terms of, number one, I don't think God there's a difference between reverence and fear. When we talk about the fear of the Lord, that's talking about a reverence for him and a respect.
Yeah.
That's different to fear in terms of anxiety and pressure and stress. That they're different fears, to be clear.
Yeah.
So when I say God doesn't work using fear. Fear is a man-made tactic and it's a devil-made tactic that man has.
Perfect love casts out the fear of that concern.
Exactly. Perfect love casts out all fear. Fear is not the world uses it because it's a motivator. It's a motivator and it does work. It's a short-term motivator because once 88 Reasons Why He's Coming 1988.
That guy had a lot of bookings that year.
He had a lot of bookings based on fear. So but it's a short-term motivator because once you get to 89, people start to... So fear will always be a short-term motivator.
There's a saying in the world, fear sells.
Yeah, exactly.
And if good news is... Yeah, but fear sells.
That's why how many people street if you go to old school street evangelists, it's repent for the king. It's all fear based, don't miss out, don't miss out.
You're gonna go to hell.
You're gonna go to hell. You're gonna go to hell. That's it's a fear based tactic. That's not. I don't believe that's a Jesus based tactic because he casts out all fear. What I'm saying is, but there are times in the Bible when God would correct churches. You look at churches like 1 Corinthians. Sorry, not 1 Corinthians. The church of Corinth in the book of 1 Corinthians. It's a great example. God isn't afraid to deal with a church that's acting secular or isn't afraid to deal with a church that has lost their first love. He dealt with them in those books. But he didn't deal with them in fear. He dealt with them... So what I'm saying is he didn't... But it's it's not he's not when you look in the churches, it's not these churches must all be making mistakes and being immoral or things like that. It's when you look at the churches, as you said, the key thing that tied them all together wasn't their immorality, wasn't their the way they'd become secular. What tied them together was the persecution they were under. That was, and it's and you look at in the Bible, what does God when Jesus dealt with other churches in the New Testament, they were under persecution. First Thessalonica, another great example. What does it say? Actually, let's just read it for the sake of we're in chapter 4, I think it is. Finally, then, brothers, we ask and urge you in the Lord that you, just as you receive from us how you ought to walk and to please God, just as you are doing, do so more and more. It's stand strong, continue in your way. That's how he dealt with churches under persecution, not... Oh, you better make sure you keep doing this right, or else don't mess up. That's never how Jesus dealt with these churches. No. So that's how we're taking how he's talking to the churches who are under persecution in Revelation, we're probably misinterpreting it because we can use other books and how Jesus dealt with similar churches as a reference point and a guide to his style.
Yeah, I think.
Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah. So if you get into this and you end up in fear,
you're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong. All right. If you get in this and all you see is a series of terrible events coming, and you're scared that I would have to be a part of it, that's not. I don't think that's what's intended.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Same as 1 John. If you get into 1 John and you come away feeling like less of a Christian, and come away from 1 John fearing not being good enough or having to do everything right or making mistakes. That's how I read 1 John. But then that's not God's heart. That's not John's heart. Yeah. So you have to go back and
I'm getting it wrong.
I'm getting it wrong because I'm coming away more fearful of not being a good Christian than I am comforted and encouraged and strengthened in how to do the right thing.
If that was his intention, not that it was, but if that was what we were meant to get out of it, could have gone a lot further.
Yeah,
exactly. That's true.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. 1 John, if you read it, and sometimes I read it, am I even a Christian?
So what is it you say? You go into it. You go to the doctors with a sore throat, and after 20 minutes in the waiting room, got 4 types of cancer, and 3 lung diseases. And it's like reading. I think sometimes my leg does do that. Actually, maybe
someone else's heart not beating.
I feel like I go into 1 John to be encouraged by Islam, and I come away. Maybe I'm not a Christian. Maybe
because it's
because you can misinterpret what they're saying.
If you read it and it makes you discouraged, you're not. You've got to work out. I'm not reading it right.
Why?
I'm not getting what John was intending because that was obviously not what he was planning.
Yeah.
So, how to do it? And the same with the Book of Revelation. If I read the Book of Revelation, and that's why I'm not coming to you to say because a lot of people start. Okay, if you go and do a study, what is overview of Revelation? They will talk to you about how to approach it in terms of an interpretation. There's 4 styles of interpreting, and there's 3 ways of viewing this, and 3 ways of who is the who is the woman that gives birth, okay. I'm not actually coming to you with that. We might look at some of that stuff, let's see how God goes. I'm not telling you how to interpret it. I'm saying if you approach it and the way you are interpreting it does not fill you with a
good.
I'm gonna stand strong here.
I'm gonna stand strong, not because, dear God, I don't want to go through this, but this is my story.
Yeah.
This is my team. This is my God, Jesus.
Yeah.
This is where I'm ending up. This is what this is no small thing. This is a battle with cosmic players. Do you know what I mean? Satan gets a representation here, and it's like, let me just give you an example. Okay, Revelation 12. And it says, and a great sign appeared in. Okay, you can if you're looking at sections, chapter 11 finishes almost like a we're doing a series of 7, and the 7th angel sounded, bang, 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 and in that, but it's talking about this this mighty fight with I'm sort of searching there as I'm trying to speak, so that's probably not a good sign. Okay, we hear about the fight and everything happening.
Yeah.
And then it says, well, let's just pause here. So we're entering into another look at these things, and we take even a time to sort of hear about the devil and the dragon and things like that.
Yeah.
And part of it's like, this is all happening. Let's just focus on here. And this is where I feel sometimes it's not like linear. Sometimes it's like da 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 da, and then we'll just go back a little bit, or we go back right here. In Revelation chapter 1, verse 19, it says, "Write these things that you have seen, the things which are, and the things which are to take place." All right. It's an interesting thing. Jesus was called the one
who was,
and is to come. All right. John is to write about the things which he has seen, which are to take things to take place.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? It's like I can't see that without saying there's a parallel there.
Yeah.
It's meant to be the God who was and is to come is going to get you to write about the things that were and are to come.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I want to take that approach that he's seeing things, and because in chapter 4 it says, I come up here, I'll show you things to come. So people say everything that happens from chapter 4 on is to come.
It hasn't happened yet.
I don't like to lock that in as much based on the type of literature.
I'd also like to, one other thing, okay, what are the things you have to remember? This is going back to, a lot of things we've learned in the academy. Number one, learn about who it's being written to.
Yeah.
Okay? Learn about the culture and the context of the day.
Yeah.
Number 3, learn about the, the specifics of their situation and stuff like that. Number 4, remember your author. Yeah. One thing we've learned about John wasn't great at writing things in a great order. You go to the start. Okay, like just to give an example, you go to the start of Luke, who was a historian. You go to the start of his gospel, and it's like just of those. Like it's basically saying in the days of Herod, king of Judah, there was a priest, and it's talking through the specifics of what's happened. You go to the start of John's gospel from memory. The very beginning of John's gospel. What you do, just give a bit of an overview of what you're going to be. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was God, and He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made. In Him was life, and the life it was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness is not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness, It turns about all this before we even get into who God is and stuff like that. It's like...
Yeah, can you see John painting this big picture all about Jesus, but never mentions his name? What first mention of his name, I think, is verse 16. From this quick look.
In John or
in First John?
Yeah, in John.
So, in John... is all this stuff and the lamb and verse 17. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth were realized through Jesus Christ. Now he hasn't. That's the first time. It's actually he's named him. All right.
Yeah, but, and there's no one has even seen God. And the only God who is at the Father's side, He has made Him known. And this is the testimony of John, who the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask, "Who are you?" He confessed and did not deny, but confessed, "I am not the Christ." And they asked, "What?" It's like this isn't like from a writing perspective. This is not how you start a book. This is not how you start a letter. This is not how you
exactly. But so John is not following a very Western mindset, and that's one of the things. I used to think, John's a bit strange. John does it weird, and then God pointed out to me. Jesus pointed out when He was on earth, John was His closest companion. Out of all the people on the earth, He got on best with John, and I was finding John weird.
Yeah,
all right, exactly. And that made me go, oh. Jesus, when He was on earth, really liked John. He really got on well with John. He thought John was His closest companion on earth. And I said, and I'm saying, your friend's weird. He's like, well, I actually like him. Makes me weird. Okay, like, so I had to read John and say, you're not weird, I am. I had to say, you're not strange. And when I did that, and I say, my understanding flipped over, and suddenly it became an amazing book because I was not trying to force John into my template. I was going here. Revelation's the same, and like you said, things. If you try and lock this in, and I have seen a revelation. It was one of the great Bible teachers.
Putting it this way. If Jesus wanted to give a very clear and concise, chronological explanation of the end times, He probably would have given it to Paul.
Because give it to Luke.
He would have given it to Luke or Paul, because when Paul would write, Paul was a master craftsman in his writing. He would write in this way that makes you think you're going this way. But Paul knew how to structure things and how to do it. Luke was a historian. He did these things. John was not a historian. John, often, like in First John, it reads like Dr. Seuss when he'd only give himself 50 words to use. Sort of like Dr. Seuss used to do this thing where like you wouldn't let himself use he'd only let himself use like 30 words in a book and see if he can write a whole book using it. John often read like that because it's just the same things over and over. But that's because John had this understanding of the heart of Jesus. As you said, John was the closest to Jesus. John had the heart of the Father. John had the heart of love. John understood these things. And there's a reason Jesus gave the revelation of that to the person who wasn't chronological and wasn't going to see it historically, who wasn't going to see it logically, but was going to see it through the heart and the revelation and through the eyes of the Father.
And we'll pick up on that in a second because I think that's an important thing. In Revelation chapter 12, and like I said, it says, it talks about signs. Great sign appeared in heaven. Now it's like, okay, we've had trumpets and seals, but now signs. So now symbols are being given to us. So it's like, how do I interpret this? That's right. So people are interpreting this lots of ways, and I'm not trying to say yes or no because I do know, and I know I'm right. I just don't want to. So it said there was a woman clothed with the sun.
Oh, what verse? Sorry,
verse 1
of Revelation
12. And the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. So it talks of authority and governance. And she was with child, and she cried out, being in labour and in pain, to give birth. Okay, who is that woman? Right now, I've always read that. Well, must be someone's going to happen because we're like in the timeline mode. This is someone in the future, and it must be. Is it a real woman? She's wanting to give birth. The moon, the sun. Oh, okay. Just and it used to be turn your head off and just read. That's interesting, but I really got no idea what it's all about. Okay, turning back on and saying, oh, hang on a sec. In this way that we're looking, we can see things for now in the light of maybe what has happened. So you don't have to necessarily. So people say, was this Mary? And was the child who's giving birth to Jesus? So now, this is what I was pointing to. A really good Bible teacher that I know, he said, it can't be Mary because chapter 4 says, I will show you things to come. So for them, everything from chapter 4 on
had to be just the things that are to come.
Had to be in the future. All right. So nothing you see here can have happened. All right. I think that I'll show you things to come is not I will show you exclusively things that are to come, but I will show you the things to come. And when I'm showing the things to come, you will also see the things that are and the things that were.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In the context of what is to come.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't lock it in as fixed as that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And especially because of the style of writing and what we're looking at. And it's that doesn't make much sense. That's only if we look at through the chronological mindset that says everything must happen now. We must be able to put this on a chart, and she appears at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not as locked into that, and that's not just trying to make it read whatever. That's according, hopefully, to the style of what's being written that was understood. So let's say, is it Mary? It doesn't sort of read like Mary. But it reads about the Messiah.
Yeah.
All right. One possibility you look at is it's talking about the woman being the children of Israel. Yeah. Because out of Israel would come the Messiah. So rather than Mary particularly, it's the whole of Israel. All right.
Yeah.
And then later on, it sort of shifts, and it's not Israel that is protecting her. And this thing, it moves over to like the church, and so the woman goes from Israel to the spiritual Israel, the new Israel, the church.
Can I ask a quick question? Why do you reckon it is, and we can answer this later if you want, that some things like this he doesn't give an explanation for, but in Revelation 1 and stuff, like you read in Revelation 1,
It says what the 7 stars
he says like the 7 stars of this and the 7 lampstands. Do you reckon is there a reason those ones particularly he did give the explanation? Do you think it's because John himself didn't fully know which ones they were, or do you reckon is that a common reading into what?
Now, first of all, John wasn't giving the interpretation. Jesus said this.
Exactly.
So sometimes he says, "Who are these?" And
Write down what you see.
Yeah.
What I say.
And he says, do you know? No, Lord.
No.
You tell me, angel to the angel who's giving the revelation. No, I don't know. So it's. I think part of it is because it's not given in a textbook style where it's meant to be, you're getting the picture and the feel. The other thing is you're meant to read it through the lens of other things that have been written, so that you get that. So, but yeah, I think it's, you're meant to see it through other things, which would not make it as weird as it is to us.
Yeah.
But
I was
still,
more wondering if there's a reason those ones particularly Jesus did clarify. Is there thoughts as to why? Is it like because that one it's such an integral part of reading the whole of Revelation is you need to know that. Like I was just curious if you had any thoughts as to why those ones in particular he did. Give a reason.
I've got some thoughts, but you can ask. You can ask God
Jesus,
yourself that one, all right? Yeah.
If Jesus came and said, write down the things that you see or I'm going to say, and I'm writing it down, but people might think about it like this, so I'm going to write about it this way. You have this choice, or shall I write down exactly what he says?
Yeah, that's true.
I'll do that.
That's very true.
That's my thought.
And a lot of this too, you'll find is sort of overlap. You know, like it's here and then it's here and then it's here. Do you know what I mean? Remember, John is it's the corkscrew.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think take Revelation a little bit like that, as opposed to a nice linear. You know, John, the book, read 1 John. You got to read it in.
It comes around it again,
in circles.
higher.
Do you know what I mean? It goes a bit higher each time. Revelation, don't just take it as A, B, C, D. It's like it's a blend. Now, okay, she was with child. She cried out, being in labour and pain to give birth. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads, 10 horns. On his heads were 7 diadems, and his tail swept away 1/3 of the stars of heaven, and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she gave birth, he might devour her child. Now, later on, verse 9, it says, the great dragon was thrown down, the serpent, and here's one, it does interpret it for you.
Yeah.
Okay, gives you clarity. Who is called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was thrown down to earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. So I take that as an interpretation of what's in verse 4.
Yeah.
All right, so when it talks about stars here, it's he's 1/3 of the angels with him. You know, you can lock in too much, but I think that's giving good. All right, and verse 5, and she gave birth to a son, a male, who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. Now, the rod of iron, Jesus has already talked about that in Revelation chapter 2. I've been given the rod of iron. It's based on Psalm 2. Yep. You are my son. And, it's just a core passage. Hebrews talks about that passage twice. Yep. Paul talks about it. So
another thing that would probably lean towards it being Mary.
Yeah, that sort of, that's like, that has to be Jesus, doesn't it? Can't you just say it? Can't you just say, John, can't you say that? Who's Jesus? You know, I mean, that's part of how this works. All right. So Mary, Israel, you know, so it's Israel. But look what and the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared by God, so she might be nourished for 1,206. So then it sort of, that's the 3.5 years and stuff like that. So it seems to be. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels waging war with the dragon. The dragon and his angels warred, and they were not strong enough. So, so all this is happening. Is it happening in this future? Is it saying this happened?
Yeah.
And that's why, we're talking about it now because it impacts on what is going to happen. Yeah. Right? But I want, out of all this, is like, okay, I can try and interpret and all the rest. And I'm not saying don't try and interpret it, because I think it's given for us to try and understand it. But now we step back and we're hearing Revelation. We're one of the churches. Mm-hmm. We're reading all this, and we read about the Messiah coming. Yeah. And he's born, and there's an intense pressure. And as he's getting born, it says the devil is waiting, and he's going to kill him. He's going to destroy him. But the child is protected, and then there's angelic hosts, and then there's victories and all the rest, and the angel. And then you say, when Jesus was born, they sent Romans to centurions to kill all the children and try and destroy him, but he was whisked away and taken to Egypt. All right, so you look at that, and you look at this, and you say that's the parallel.
That was.
But what actually happened was Roman soldiers went to kill, but here it was the devil was going to kill, and those two things are one and the same, aren't they? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't say the devil went to kill him. It says through the jealousy of I was going to say Nero. No, it's who was Pontius? No, who was in charge?
Caesar.
No.
Herod?
Herod. None of those names are Herod. Herod's jealousy meant that he tried to destroy Jesus. Here, it's the devil tries to destroy Jesus. To see the earthly world in light of what's really happening up here gives me an insight. All right? This is not just Herod trying to destroy Jesus. This is the devil trying to destroy the Messiah.
Yeah, that's good.
All right?
That's good.
And what this encourages me is, that out of all this, what I'm going through, there's a heavenly bigger picture for it. Okay, I might be being persecuted by my local rabbi in the because the synagogues were giving them a hard time, and they might be excluding me, but they might be putting pressure on me. They might be trying to kick me out of this. They might be trying to do this. They might even be stirring up trouble and causing me to actually get persecuted. They will not beyond stoning people.
No.
In those, I'm under all this pressure, but I'm looking at this and say, when Jesus went through that, it wasn't actually the soldiers. It was actually a cosmic battle. A cosmic battle where God was winning in big time.
Yeah.
And when I'm going through this, it's a cosmic battle of which God is winning big time. All right? So, so I look at these events and I see not just what happened or is happening or going to happen. I see a picture of God, but I also see a battle.
You see, talking of like that parallel, I remember watching a long time ago, I'm sure everyone has seen it, The Passion of the Christ, where he thought he killed Jesus, but obviously that's not, he rose, and you see that picture of that, I don't know who that pale man that was represented, and you just see the scene where he's like, I don't know, like he's sort of raging, fists into the air, and like he thought he had got him, he thought he'd won, but he hadn't, and you see it with like, speaking that parallel with like the battle that maybe you're facing now, or the persecution maybe you're facing now, and maybe it seems like it's not, but actually it's a battle that you're saying that God is winning big time. And it's like, even what's happening to you now, or what could happen to you later on, that's actually the victory is assured. The victory has come.
Exactly.
And it might just for a moment look like that, but that's not what's going to happen.
I'm going to end here because I got lots.
Can I just add in there? I feel like as another verse, I just feel like it's so relevant to these things. I know this is written by Paul, not John, but like I think there'd obviously be overlapping. There's so much overlap in their teaching. Ephesians 6:12. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. That's where does that verse fit in Ephesians 6? It fits in with them saying, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might, put on the armor of God. It's like saying, hey, if you're at battle right now, remember, this isn't just your battle against Paul was saying, hey, to the church of Ephesus, if you're in battle right now, you're not just in battle against the people you're in battle against.
We do not wrestle against flesh and blood.
Do not fight them in this world, fight them through my world, fight them with the sword of the Spirit, fight them in your way. And it's like, that was what he was telling them to do. And I think if Paul is saying that to them, and it's like, I think it's the same thing John is saying in Revelation to these churches who are under persecution. It's like, this isn't just your war. This is a war that's been happening since the beginning. This happened when, happened at the start in the heavens, in creation, when the devil was thrown out. And it's happening now. And it's going to be happening in the future. It's the same battle. Don't just get caught up in trying to fight this battle,
It's exactly right.
That's why it's the he was and is to come. It's like, it's the same God who's fighting the same devil in the same battle. Just because you're seeing a different side of it now, don't lose sight of that.
So in light of this, that will stir you up to hold fast. So you think there's a particular people group that show up time and time again in the book of Revelation. They're called the martyrs. So many times over and over again. It talks, the prayer of the martyrs and the thousand. The rule of the thousand is the rule of the martyrs, and 1,000 years. And martyrs turn up. So this is very relevant to them. Like one of them leaders had been killed as a martyr. So it was like, this is actually to us very real, and it's like, this could be me. Now, I'm not saying they were meant to go through it. In fact, to the church at Philadelphia, Jesus said, "You've kept my word, the word of my perseverance." This is Revelation 3:10. "And I also will keep you from the hour of testing, that hour which is about to come upon the whole world to test those who dwell upon the earth." So he was like, this is going to happen, but I'm going to keep you. So it's not like it's all inevitable. No. We're all going to, but in the midst of all this is what you need to hang on to, and this is to stir you up and to give you. This is not to make you think, oh dear God, like I said, if we read 1 John and you feel discouraged, I'm not looking at it right. If I read Revelation and I get fearful, I'm not reading it right. So it's my job to go back. So next week we'll look at two things. The very first word of this book in the Greek is apocalypsis. In fact,
I had it here. I was looking at it before. It's in my notes here. Apocalypsis, Dad.
Yeah.
So what we want to talk about is where were you? I was reading before because it's in the notes about what this book is about.
Okay.
You go first. You probably.
Well, this is in Greek,
Yeah.
so you won't be able to read it.
Oh yeah, Revelation is the translation of the Greek word apocalypsis, which means the unveiling.
Yeah. So in Greek, apocalypsis. Apocalypsis, Jesu Christou. The unveiling of Jesus Christ. All right. Calypsis means to cover, skin, bark, cloth over. It means to cover. Apo means from, to
take it off,
take the cover from. So unveil something, reveal something. All right. Now, I don't think it's the revealing of Jesus Christ. Like, there's Jesus. Ta-da! It's Jesus. I think it's Jesus doing the unveiling.
Yeah.
The unveiling of Jesus.
But also I feel like in chapter 1 there's that.
Well, if you're going to see what Jesus is going to unveil, part of that is who he is. And
exactly.
What I mean. But I'm just saying, I don't think it's just a revelation of Jesus.
No.
It's the revelation of Jesus. Yeah. Jesus' revelation to show us.
The revelation from Jesus almost as well. And I think that in there's that tie-in of like the fact that in all of this, again, that he who was and is to come, it's Jesus in his fullness is what we're talking about. Is Jesus in his entirety. Is Jesus saying, this is my battle. This is him saying, this is the war I have fought. This is the war I have won. Yeah. It's not just. I feel like we get so caught up in the devils and the horns, and it's like I feel like so much of it is Jesus saying, take a step back. The macro, not the micro. The big picture is this is me and who I am in my victory.
Now, apocalypse is an English word now. Apocalypse. I think there was a movie, Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, there's a villain in the X-Men.
The Apocalypse. Okay, and so all those things. So that meaning has come from this, and from Revelation, the book of Revelation. But it's not apocalypsis. It was not between 2nd century BC and 2nd century AD. There was actually quite a few books that were in this style. This was not this style would have been familiar to them.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so it's not. This is a unique one in terms of this is a whole book. Is this in the Bible? So well, that's apocalypsis, but that's a style of writing, not just a reference to this. So if we don't understand what that style is, we will miss it a little bit. We'll also there's portions of the Old Testament and New Testament, Jesus's teachings even had some apocalypsis style to it. Yeah. All right. So we'll look at some of those because that will give us a feel for this style. Because This is not a style that we have a current thing. And some people think apocalypse just means destruction and end time destruction and war and whatever. It doesn't actually mean that.
Unveiling.
But there's a style to it that we meet this. So I want to look at that. I also want to say, okay, let's look at the bigger picture of how did that victory come, what was intended. Because as I look at it, okay, for instance, I heard one preacher say, listening, anyway, he was saying, it's so great because Revelation is all about the Lion of the tribe of Judah and about us being lions and all the rest. Okay, I want to put that to the sword of what actually we see.
Exactly.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so are you saying Jesus? Let's try and see what Jesus is saying through this. And he is the Lion of the tribe of Judah and all the rest. But let's see how this all works. Okay, so that's next week. You got to remind me.
Good.
Apocalypse, and we're going to start trying to look at the big picture.
Those are like there's icy poles.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Calypsos.
Can
we all have calypsos?
The word just rolls off the tongue.
Apocalypso.
So we'll certainly
I dare say
it.
I'll be calling them apocalypsos next week.
Remember the icy pole? And
Remember the icy pole? Remember to have a calypso?
Yeah.
That's what he said. And John said have a calypso.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad they brought their big Bibles because all they've got now is
have a calypso. Have a calypso.
Have a calypso. Have a calypso on me. Says John.
Yeah, literally.
And we will explore this because it's all about us today.
Yeah,
all right?
I love that.
Okay, well, thank you,
Thank you
everybody.
everyone for joining us. It's been so good to... I'm loving this.
Yeah,
Who's been loving not
great.
just this, but...
This is amazing.
If you're enjoying this as well, we've been doing... The reason we're studying Revelation here is because it has been a mandate that God has put on the church for the beginning of this year is to dive into Revelation. And we've been doing that not just in our academies, but we've been doing that in our Sunday service as well. If you go back and watch the last couple of Sundays, we've been doing worship services really set around the idea of just coming into the throne room of God and joining with the angels in their song and having the angels join in with ours. And it is had some beautiful moments in worship the last 2 Sundays. We're going to be back this Sunday. Cam is leading us for another time in worship. So I encourage you, if you're enjoying this and this is really coming alive to you, join us online or in person this Sunday for our I think is it our final Sunday worship Sunday or is it our second final worship Sunday?
No,
it's the last one in Feb.
Final Sunday and then the prayer meeting.
It's the final Sunday in Feb, and then we've got a prayer meeting next Saturday, and then we're doing another one, even though it's technically March 1st, but we're doing it.
No, I think... no,
or is this the final one?
No, 21st on Sunday, isn't it?
No, it's the 22nd on Sunday, and then
29th.
28th. So it's the 1st of March technically, but we're counting it as the last Sunday of Feb.
Last weekend of
It's the last weekend of February, and we're doing the prayer meeting that week and stuff. But we encourage you, come along. It's going to be amazing. We're really excited for what God's going to do. Join us next Wednesday night. We have life groups. If you don't know what life groups are, they're a place where we take the Word of God and take what God is doing, and we apply it to our lives and make it practical and find ways to apply it to our situations.
Contact us if you want to be connected.
If you want to be part of a life group, go to that website, faith.Current. There's online ones, there's people who join in persons, there's ones that join all. There's a lot of different options. And then finally, next Friday, we'll be back here at Academy as we learn how to have a calypso.
Have a calypso.
And we're going to be learning more about diving into what that sort of book is, and we're really excited for it. Be blessed, online family, be blessed, academics, academias. Macadamia. We've got macadamias and calypsos now. Enjoy, everyone. We'll see you next Friday. Bye for now.